You guys remember the MyRA accounts Obama set up? I remember doing at least a couple of videos on this when they first came out. MyRA, like MyRA, is how they pronounce it. And it was some special type of retirement account, whatever, for people who can't, I guess, use other types of retirement accounts. You know, here's another one. And I remember back then I suggested that we may see if an economic collapse starts to take place, the federal government takes people's funds and, you know, saves your funds and automatically puts them into the MyRA accounts. Now, it's possible that that was the plan. I talked about it when I did my video many, was that 2014? Gosh, I must have done a video then too. So 2014, 2015 timeframe maybe. I'm sure I talked about it as soon as it came out. But again, my theory, again, you can't, when you look at the government and you realize you just can't throw them, can't trust them as far as you can throw them. It's real easy to make or come to a conclusion like that. And it's possible that that is what it was used for. But now that Trump's in office and Hillary's not, and the economy's pumping along again, when it was supposed to collapse, possibly if we had a Hillary type of president, or not type, but Hillary as the president, which again, Trump or not, we still got later in the year, September, October timeframe, right? But anyways, I think that that's possibly what it was going to be used for. But since that's not happening now, all of a sudden, we don't really have a use for them anymore. And having said that, interesting headline from Zero Hedge. Trump axes Obama's MyRA retirement accounts after $70 million of taxpayer funds have been wasted. Quick look surprised. Do you have any idea how badly, insanely, taxpayer funds are always wasted? I'm quite certain you do. If you've been a subscriber of mine for any length of time, you've come to that conclusion pretty quick, I'm sure. Many videos as I do on this crap. During his January 2014 State of the Union address, Obama announced the creation of a new financial product that would allow American workers, those without access to retirement accounts anyway, to directly participate in the U.S. Treasury's debt Ponzi on a tax-deferred basis. The accounts were cleverly named MyRA and were intended to be a substitute for people who didn't have access to an employee-sponsored 401k. With one little catch. Money deposited in the accounts could only be invested in U.S. government bonds. So now I think you know why I said what I said in 2014 about these things. You can only invest them in government bonds. Exactly. So the market starts crashing, the government steps in. We've, at least on the public, not private accounts, but public accounts, we saved you and automatically moved your money over here into the MyRA accounts. Why? Because you're going to be bailing out the government. You're going to be paying for the money that we're going to be borrowing. Essentially, right? That's why I made that conclusion. And it says, here's an excerpt from Obama's speech at the time. Let's do more to help Americans save for retirement today. Most workers don't have a pension. It's a social security check, often isn't enough on its own. And while the stock market has doubled over the last 5 years, that doesn't help folks who don't have 401ks. That's why tomorrow I will direct the Treasury to create a new way for working Americans, to start their own retirement savings. MyRA. It's a new savings bond that encourages folks to build a nest egg. MyRA guarantees a decent return with no risk of losing what you put in. And if this Congress wants to help work with me to fix an upside down tax code that gives big tax breaks to help the wealthy save, but does little to nothing for the middle class Americans, offer every American access to automatic IRA on the job so they can save at work just like everyone in this chamber can. Mr. Ex-President, I'll be honest with you. I'd rather handle my own money, cryptocurrencies, precious metals, etc. I want to be in charge. If I lose, I lose. If I win, I win. I sure as hell don't want to give you my money to earn a decent interest rate. Please show me that decent interest rate on those turds known as bonds. Please. Have those things performed like the stock market even? Absolutely not. Not even kind of. To summarize, a MyRA was more or less an IRA without the investing flexibility, as you could only invest in a massive government-sponsored Ponzi scheme, as Zero Hedge calls it. Shockingly, as the New York Times points out today, the accounts turned out to be a massive disaster, costing taxpayers $70 million, or roughly 2 times the amount of money that was invested in the 20,000 accounts that were actually opened and funded. Now, hold on. Kind of like Obamacare. How many people signed up? Oh, almost nobody. Remember that? Oh, the CBO says we're going to see this many millions. How many actually signed up in the very beginning? Remember that? Almost nobody. Okay, interesting. You're telling me that only 20,000 accounts out of 360 plus million Americans in total, of course. That does include children, adults, everybody. Nonetheless, 360 million citizens in this country. You only got 20,000 to open accounts? You know the old saying, everything that guy touches turns to gold. Everything Obama touched turned to garbage. A swirling pile of crap, as a matter of fact. Is there anything that he touched or did that was actually like, that there's the one thing that Obama did that, man, that was a good thing. I gotta be honest, nothing comes to mind. President Barack Obama ordered the creation of the so-called starter accounts 3 years ago, and they became available at the end of 2015. Since then, about a massive 20,000 accounts have been opened, with participants contributing a total of $34 million, according to the Treasury. The median account balance was $500. Well, then again, when people don't have $500 or even $1,000 in their bank account, 50-60% of the people in this country, is according to the statistics, or it's actually more than that, I believe. I'm not shocked to only see average was $500 sitting in there. But the shocking part is 20,000 people. 20,000 people, that 20,000 accounts, that's it. Talk about an epic fail. So what is this? An additional 10,000 accounts whose owners have not contributed to them have been opened. So I apologize. 30,000 have been created, but 10,000 of those, nothing has happened to them. Those are people, I support the president and I'm going to do this because he said so. Oh, wait a minute. I got to fund it myself? I can't put my EBT in there? The government's got to pay for it for me? No. Oh, well, I'll just leave the account open in case I ever get some money and actually get a job and work and earn a decent living, which is going to be typically hard because I'm already struggling in policies this man has put into place. Yeah, not good. Javita Carranza, the United States Treasurer, said in a statement that demand for the accounts was not high enough to justify the expense. The program has cost $70 million since 2014, according to the Treasury, and would cost $10 million a year in the future. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how your perspective is on this, this is yet another component of the Obama legacy, that taxpayers will no longer have to pour millions of their hard-earned cash into propping up, as the Trump administration has just announced that the program was axed last Friday. An Obama-era program that created savings accounts to help more people put away money for retirement is being shut down by the Treasury Department, which deemed the program too expensive. The 30,000 participants in the program, known as MyRA, and intended for people who did not have access to workplace savings plans, were sent an email on Friday morning alerting them of the closing. Participants were informed that they could roll the money into a Roth individual retirement account, the Treasury Department said. And Zero Hedge sums it up at the end, or not really sums it up, but really surprising that people didn't want to open a really restrictive IRA substitute where proceeds can only be invested in a Ponzi scheme, known as the government debt, bonds. What is bond? Bondage. We print money, but before we can take the money and keep it, it's borrowed. Bonds, Treasury bonds, have to be created in the exact same amount. You need $10 billion? Yes, we do, because we're dirt poor and broke. I need a $10 billion or $10 billion worth of bonds. We're going to put out on the open market. And those bonds do bear interest, correct? Why, yes, they do. So whoever buys the bonds we pay them interest, correct? Why, yes, you do. And as a matter of fact, it's not even a one-time fee, is it, of interest? Why? No, it's not. It's continual. Say, where do we get the money to pay for the interest? Since we're borrowing a principal amount, $10 billion, and we end up paying whatever the actual amount ends up being at the end of the 10-year, 30-year, whatever bond, it is. How much did we actually pay during that time period? And then they get paid back in full, essentially, when the bond, well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe the appropriate word would be not the bond matures, but the bond expires. I think I like that term better. So that's what you get. You get to pay interest to somebody, mostly foreign people, companies, corporations, big fat cat banksters and elitists from long ago, rich families from you know who from long ago. When all we have to do is print the money, no bonds created, and just use it internally in this country to pay for everything. I've been over this so many times. All taxes would go away. Property taxes go away. Driver's license fees, this fee, that fee, fishing license, all that goes away. Because the government just prints the money it needs to do its daily bidding. Pension problem? Not anymore. We're paying these people absurdly high amounts of money, $300,000 a year to be an office administrative assistant for some office building in downtown where Rahm Emanuel works, mayor. I covered that a couple days ago. No problem. They'll just pay these people right out of the government's, pocketbook. Now, the problem with this is, if you think that bloated spending's bad now, overpaying people, government waste, taxpayer funded crap, you think that stuff's bad now, under a system like that where they just print it, goodness, would you see some people becoming filthy rich, selling garbage to the government, and the government just pays them, while you and I in the private sector would be standing around saying, what the hell are we doing in the private sector? We need to get into some government job, which leaves hardly any private sector, right? So there would be a problem there. However, again, if we could just set some rules up, some laws, where a government entity, which, here we go again, right, dictates job titles and what the pay is across the damn nation. You're in the government, this is what that job pays. Administrative assistant, this person, that person, IT, and there's no one person who can say, well, in this case, let's give them more money because I got a little backdoor deal. Nope. Everything is accounted for. Everything, there's rules, regulations on all that stuff. Right? So you could fix the problem. But does history say that that's what's going to happen? Not on your life. No. No, sir. No, ma'am. Good day.